occur. However, I will tell you the acquisition or the potential acquisition of the Upper Pottsgrove Township wastewater systems is not included as part of the company's April 29th filing. And therefore, the sewer rates for the Upper Pottsgrove Township are in no way impacted as a result of this rate filing request. And as we discussed last week over a series of the public meetings the township hosted on the sale of the system, after the applications are filed, reviewed, and approved by the Public Utility Commission, and at closing, which is estimated around spring of 2021, the base residential sewer rates for Upper Pottsgrove customers under our ownership will be $65 a month, which equates to $780 a year. That's about 9+% lower than the current Upper Pottsgrove Township rates. These base rates are expected to remain constant in 2021 and 2022. And that's opposed to what was illustrated during the public meetings of potential rates of $900 and $920 as the annual amounts for those 2 years if the system had remained under the township ownership. So, you know, we had filed last week. Upper Pottsgrove's not part of it. We're actually using Act 12 legislation, which by law requires us to take the seller's rates as part of the acquisition, and those rates will be the $65 a month rates. And again, you know, once we do file a rate request to the PUC, they have the right to investigate it, which they've determined they will in this filing. And they'll analyze the company's filings, and it's expected to take about 9 months prior to the PUC approving any rate changes, and any rate changes are approved at the discretion of the Public Utility Commission. So I wanted to let you all know that. We weren't in a position to be able to speak to that last week, as I mentioned, for the SEC rules, but hopefully that information will provide, you know, additional insight as to what we did and the Upper Pottsgrove Township agreement, which are basically two separate situations.
Thanks, Bernie. Commissioners, comments, questions?
That's great news.
Yeah, when I read the article, I actually knew that it didn't include, even though Upper Pottsgrove was mentioned, I think that was added as a later blip, but I knew it didn't include us because of the, you know, all of the information you have given us, Bernie. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Renee. And, you know, if by rule, we would have to, all customers have to receive notice of a rate increase. You know, obviously you're not our customers yet, so
Correct.
You haven't been noticed. So there's no administrative way to even, you know, incorporate into this filing.
Okay.
Other comments?
Okay, thank you, Bernie, for that explanation. I did have a comment that I just wanted to make because this seemed to stir up a lot of feelings over the past few days. And I didn't find out about it until I read it in the newspaper, which was probably later in the afternoon on Friday when I got around to reading it. And my first question was really like, how does this affect us as a township and myself? I live here. And I didn't see how it would, knowing what I know, and what all the meetings we went through, but I wanted to make sure. So my first thought was I'm going to call Trace and I'm going to see if he found out anything yet, because it was probably mid-afternoon on Friday. And he had already looked into it and confirmed what I thought. It didn't affect us, and that he was going to invite Bernie to come to the meeting tonight. So I just want to say that I found out very quickly on Friday what I think every commissioner had the opportunity to do. And I just want to give some advice to some of the people out there. You cannot rely on Facebook for getting your news. When I logged into Twitter that evening and saw the conversations that had taken place, I was just so sad. It was so disappointing. And I was hoping someone would lead the conversation to a more civil dialogue. So I guess what I want to say is that if you want to be informed, first thing, you have to try to make the meetings. That's the best way to try to stay informed. And if you have a question, please call one of the commissioners, email one of us, talk to the township manager with any of your questions, please. Thank you.
I agree with what you said. I don't think the information was portrayed nicely on that Facebook page. And I would hope that everybody knows why I ran for commissioner is because I love my community. I love the people in the community, and I would never do anything that would hurt our community. I do have a question though. I got to ask you, Martin, why didn't you want us to sell the sewer system? It seems like you want to continue on with dialogue that doesn't make any sense to what we're doing. I want to know why you didn't want us to sell the sewer system. I gave you the reasons why I wanted to sell the sewer system, and it didn't really include me.
So I gave some reasons why I didn't want to sell the sewer system before.
So what's your reasoning?
I felt that it wasn't the right time to sell it. I thought that we were going to be adding more customers on the Coomer track that were possibly worth more later on. I'm not sure that we ever got an answer to actually how much it cost per foot. According to their website, it was $1,000 a foot, and it's only $100 a foot is what they told us. I had some other points that I said at the end of the last meeting before we voted on it. So, but I don't know. I have some concerns if knowing that the grants are now starting to come and they may come more. I thought that it was a good opportunity to hold on to it and possibly, and I'm not so sure that it's going to help us completely out of our debt situation.
Well, I've read every political notation that I could. The grants are not coming. After this pandemic, they're not going to be there. And I think as a community, we have done the best thing we could do during this horrible time. People cannot afford anything. And so for us to do this now would be the best thing we can do. I still believe that Bernie and his company knows what they're doing when it comes to sewer, and we do not. And that's where the risk factors come in. I don't know if you realize that Farmington Avenue was ripped up twice because of a mistake that was made. So I really think that people that know what they're doing, know ahead of time, see all these problems. As commissioners, we don't. So I really don't like everyone, and I'm not saying everything, I think there's a handful of people that feel negative towards the township because of the things they read on Facebook. And as a commissioner, I am going to be always positive. You can read my Facebook page, there's nothing negative there. I believe that if you're going to put the negative out there, you're going to grab onto these 5 people that seem to think that we're doing the worst thing in the world. And I really don't take kindly to threats, which I did read, and I don't appreciate that.
I think also if we are commissioners and we have our Facebook page, I think it would be incumbent upon us to police it up when we have profanity and comments on there that can easily be directed to more civil conversation. Any other comments? Okay, Bernie, Scott, you guys can drop off if you'd like. I think we're done with that piece of it, and we're looking forward to moving on to the next steps.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye now.
Scott, Bernie.
Take care.
Okay, so under you see, I have if everybody can see the agenda that I have posted up here. Opening comments. You see, we don't have our regular reports on here. So Michelle has a couple items she wants to update everybody on, and then we'll move through the regular agenda. So Michelle.
So I just wanted to bring the commissioners up to date on a couple of things that are happening now, are going to happen in the near future, and then for 2021. So for 2021 road projects, as you all got an availability to this information prior, we're looking to pave Mervine Street as a joint project with the Borough of Pottstown. I did confirm with Justin Keller today that they actually were thinking about that project for this year, but they're willing to wait until next year since that was on our schedule for next year. So we will be doing a joint project with them. As part of that project, or prior to that project, the township needs to send letters to the residents on Mervine Street to repair their curbs and sidewalks. So in the future, the board's going to have to make a decision as to what time period we're going to allow the residents to complete the repairs, and how we're going to handle the repairs going forward if the residents do not complete them. So just something for you guys to start thinking about. You know, we had a staff meeting, and I did try to do some research on what had been done in the past, and I can't seem to put my hands on such a letter that we had done for prior projects, but that is something that the board will need to decide probably in the next month or two, so we can get those letters out prior to the start of the road projects next year. Another thing is we got a proposal from American Tower for our cell tower at Heather Place regarding a buyout of our current lease. I'm in the process of compiling additional research on this matter, and we will be presenting that to the board at a future meeting as well for consideration. I just want to make sure we have enough information gathered so that you can make an informed decision. In addition, Justin from Public Works has requested to hire summer help, as has been done in the past. However, this year it's going to be handled a little bit differently. What I've asked Justin to do is provide justification for the hiring of summer help and to provide that information in time for the May 18th meeting so I can present that to the Board of Commissioners. So just some things that you can start thinking about that will come up in the near future.
Thanks, Michelle. Questions for the township manager? Moving to the approval of minutes, take a look at your 2 April 2020 minutes. It was our first Zoom meeting. We do have the draft posted just because we had to move into that category. So I'll need a motion to accept those minutes for the 2nd of April.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 2nd.
Hearing a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Hearing a second, discussion?
I have one addition or amendment under consider salary schedules. I spoke about the superior who's higher than who. So I think that should be included in there, since I think the road foreman usually would be underneath the deputy. So I think it would just be wise for us to include that.
What do you want in there?
Martin, you want to supply the wording, Martin?
I can't remember what it is, but I questioned the chain of command.
Yeah, I
So
think Chuck had a response to that as well, but I don't recall what that was.
He basically said it was just verbiage, and it really didn't matter who we put where.
Yeah, I think I said it varied from township to township, how the hierarchy worked in the department. So I don't think there was a rule of thumb, but I remember you weren't certain who was above who, was your question.
Okay, so what do you want it to say?
So I think it should say that the foreman is above the deputy.
Well, that's not, it depends on township, but you said that, I think you were trying to say, right? You made that comment.
Well, I questioned, because usually the deputy would be higher than a foreman in most organizations. However, at that meeting, we spoke about that the foreman would be overseeing the whole crew, and the deputy would be underneath them.
So Commissioner Schreiber questioned the hierarchy of the Public Works. Is that all right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. With that, is there any objection to that wording?
No.
Hearing no objections, all in favor of accepting the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Again. 2 April carry. So moving to 6 April, I'll need a motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
Hearing a motion, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Hearing no discussion points, all in favor of accepting the minutes for 6 April 2020, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Moving to April 8th.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of April 8th.
Hearing a motion, I need a second.
I'll
I'll
second it.
second.
Hearing 2 seconds. We got a second. Comments?
I just have a couple corrections. On the bottom of page 1, where it says C note, confirms all municipalities under the ordinance must comply. I would say that it was probably C Gardner.
Yeah, it's probably Chuck Gardner, not
Yeah.
Chuck Newt.
So Jeannie, did you get that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Under Tom Ziegler on page 2, Act 537 and not 357.
An airplane.
Others?
And then before we voted to advertise, I asked, and it was confirmed that the advertisement suggested that any other business that came before the board's allowed to vote on.
Okay, tell me what you want and where you want to.
Before we voted on advertising for the ordinance, I questioned what the advertisement said, and Michelle could probably fill in that it was included in the wordage that
Yeah,
any
so,
other business that became in front of the board is allowed to, was in the advertisement so that we were compliant.
yeah, so basically it just says, when we advertise, we say, and any other business that might come before the board.
Okay. How do you want to word that?
Just like that, probably.
Just like that, yeah.
Okay. And Jeannie, other thing I saw on there, if page 2, cadence twice, isn't that W-I-E-S-E?
I'll find out.
Okay. And
I'll confirm.
anybody else?
No.
Okay, all in favor accepting minutes for April 2020, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ratification of the bills. You see the bills, that includes some March in there as well. That's why it's so high.
Yeah.
I'll need a motion to accept the bill list.
I'll make a motion to accept the bill list of $349,995.30.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
Here in a second, discussion.
Just one question, since we didn't vote on prior to the April 20th, where the solicitor's bills for the sewer fund, and I still think that it shouldn't have been coming out of there, were any of them associated with the sale of the sewer?
More than likely, yes, if you're talking my bills, Martin.
Yep. Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, accept the bill list as motion, say aye. Aye. Against?
Aye.
Nay.
4-1, motion carried. Okay, moving on to old business. Consider approval amendment of the traffic ordinance. This is the traffic ordinance. It's the ordinance is in your packet, 509.
Yes.
Okay, just on this one, this motion came up that was out of order. So when we do those type of things, we certainly don't make motions in the middle of reports, and then will go according to the agenda. So that one wasn't motion in the correct place, nor was it on the agenda. We went ahead and advertised it. Chuck went ahead and wrote up the ordinance here. We're just increasing from 12,000 to 14,000 is the basis to this. So I'll need a motion to pass this.
I'll make a motion to pass the ordinance number 509 in relationship to weight of vehicles.
I'll need a second.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Just a general comment. Anything on the agenda, is it time sensitive?
This one is,
This
because
one
it's
is?
already been advertised.
Okay. Because again, with like the sewer sale, I didn't think that doing it over Zoom was proper, although I don't think that many of these are going to be contentious, but so, okay, no problem.
All in favor of accepting ordinance 509 as described in your attachment, say aye.
Aye.
Against? 5-0, motion carries. Consider approval amendment for fee schedule. That packet is also in your, that resolution was in your packet as well. That has to do with the last session we had, actually before we started going to Zoom. We had a comparison of all the different type of fees. These are just specific to what we've been discussing. This is the two the items that Michelle is recommending. So I'll need a motion for that. And Michelle, did you want to add anything before we move through this?
Just add that eventually we will take a look at the entire fee schedule, and we will do an analysis to make sure that the fees we're getting for permits are offsetting the costs that we're paying to LTL. But for right now, we need to get these fees that are included in the resolution passed.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution number 714, which is about certain fees charged by the Upper Pottsville Township.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a second, discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of passing resolution 714 as drafted, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? 5-1. New business discussion item A. This is extending the deadline for paying taxes. That's our property taxes in the area. That's been ongoing discussion. Michelle, you have a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so I had asked Diane, our tax collector, to provide some information to me about what percent of taxes we have collected, and I got that information late today because she wanted to include today's collection. So as of today, we are approximately 90% of our real estate taxes are collected. And just some additional information to note, we typically lien only less than 1% of our properties. So we have outstanding to be collected $117,089 as of today, which isn't a big amount. And with the fact that we'll probably lien, a small amount of that, the board could consider either, extending the face period. I would not recommend extending the discount period because we've already passed that and we're at 90% of collections. Or the board could agree to just not take any action. I'll let Chuck speak as well in a few minutes about Act 15 and what Act 15 allows you to do. But in the interim, I just want to note that in 2018, we sent out 2,217 bills and we liened 12 parcels. In 2019, we sent out 2,227 bills and we liened 10 parcels. So our liens are low, and I just want to, from Diane, our tax collector, she just wants to send a big thank you to our residents of our community that they do pay the township taxes in discount, that we get majority of our collections in discounts. And she wants to thank them for their patience and understanding as with the whole COVID-19 pandemic and all the questions about whether the period was going to be extended or not extended. And she just wants to send them a thank you for paying their taxes in discount. So, and I'll let Chuck speak on Act 15 and what that allows you to do.
Sure. Thanks, Michelle. I think that if you recall, probably 6 or 7 weeks ago, Montgomery County sent out a blanket notice to all municipalities, kind of encouraging them to extend the discount period for payment of taxes. I think Montgomery County kind of jumped the gun a little bit because the legislation, Act 15, that was signed by the governor April 20th, then formally allowed you to do what the county was asking you to do before that. So Act 15 says you can really do two things. One, you can extend, you can, but not required, extend the discount rate up until August 31st of 2020 for any real estate based taxes that would be due and payable by the end of the year. The second thing you can do is waive any fee or penalty for a late payment, so long as the tax is paid in full by the end of the year. So those are really your options, and what Michelle was talking about, whether it be the extending the discount rate or extending the face time or the face period of the amount, is pretty much what those options would entail. So you have some discretion if you want to do it, but you're not required to do either one. If you do it, though, you need a resolution to approve either one of those or both, and then you have to deliver it to the tax collector so they're aware of what you did.
So we have to do this until the end of the year, December?
No, you don't
You're not
have to, but
required.
you're
Okay.
permitted to. You
So
can.
We could extend it, but it wouldn't December. I mean, by the time the school taxes come around, it's going to be tough for people, period.
Yeah, well, this has nothing to do with school
I
tax.
know, I do know that, but they're coming.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
So I
So-
just want to just give a little bit of more background information. So there was a lot of correspondence going on about this, and like Chuck said, the county kind of jumped the gun on things, and instead of them making a decision, they kind of asked the municipalities to make a decision first, which, maybe wasn't the best thing to do. But anyway, so of the information I received, some did extend their discount periods, various length. Some extended their face period for a couple months, some through 12/31. One municipality had no face period at all. One had a face period of only 1 month. So it's all over the place, as far as what other municipalities in Montgomery County are doing. And we were kind of in a unique situation in that our discount period ended, March 31st. And again, we were probably at 85% of collections at the end of discount period.
That said, you heard that we're required to do this by resolution. So we'll go ahead and open up the discussion between the commissioners and what the thoughts are on what you guys would like to do with the with the extension, if any?
Well, I think our discount period's over. We do start 30 days earlier than most townships, but face value, if we want to extend that 30, 45 days,
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, like another.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
I was thinking July or August.
You get to July and August, you're talking about school taxes coming.
School taxes coming in.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's the one that gets everybody really
That's
riled
my
up.
concern
So,
too, Renee.
What's that?
That's my concern
It
also.
is, because
Yeah.
they're right around the corner. So, you know, you
Yeah.
go later with this, you might not get your money.
So June 30th? Is that what we're thinking?
Well, that's like 30 more days of,
Is it?
you know,
Well,
that's
current face ends May 31st.
right.
So if you're doing 30 days, it would be June 30th.
that seems to be, so if everybody's okay with that, we'll have Chuck write it up as 30-day extension and give the hard date the end of June. Is that okay?
Chuck, I just have one question from the tax collector on that. If we are extending the face period, do we have to send notification to those that are not paid yet?
And I'd like to follow up with the question with that, Chuck, also. Then.
Well,
And
there's
that
no,
Go ahead.
yeah, there's no legal requirement that you do that, but certainly equity would dictate that you should try to communicate that. Otherwise, they're not going to know or be able to take advantage of the
Right.
extension.
Right. Okay.
Do we have an expense if we had to send something out? What it would cost to extend it 30 days, Michelle? Do we pay the tax collector per item they send out, or they pay a certain fee and that's it?
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I guess the cost would probably be, see, wait, 2,100 and so 10%, 215, about $175. That's for
Yeah,
first class stamp
that
each one
sounds
of those
about right.
folks, or we can advertise it.
Okay.
Maybe we can do both.
yeah,
Uh,
I
we
agree
can
we should
talk
do
about-
both.
We can talk about the
Um,
means of delivery, which if we want to do just the website piece of that, plus I think Diane will be talking to them as well as they talk to her.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so Chuck, if you would please, 30 days, base period extension.
Yeah, I'll have that resolution prepared for the May 18th meeting. Is that what you would like?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, good. New business C, consider approval of Cumner minor subdivision. That's the one we've been working on quite a while. That's those two houses that are flexed out a little bit. So Chuck, did you want to talk of that?
We missed
Yeah.
item,
We miss B,
we missed B.
Yeah.
Sorry.
letter B.
We missed item B, Trace, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, item B is the Willow Street piece. You have in your map.
Yep, I'm gonna share the map and then I'm gonna let Chuck, well, if it lets me.
Can you share?
Yep, I got it. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna let Chuck talk this piece, but I just wanted to bring up the map to kind of show you the area that we're talking about that's proposing to be developed. So if you're familiar on the corner of Diamond and Willow, this is Drumheller Construction over here on this corner. And then this is the properties on this corner that the FM development is looking to develop. So it's this vacant lot here, and then these three lots here, 866, 880, and 886. And I'll let Chuck talk a little bit about what the ordinance allows and what the developer is proposing.
Yeah, so it seems like a long time ago that we actually had a staff meeting when the developer submitted a preliminary sketch plan to show us concerning a proposed development of these lots. This property is actually in the retail office district. And frankly, again, not sure why the map provides for that, but there are a lot of kind of different uses that are presently existing. So you can do some degree of residential, but you're also allowed to do some other types of uses in the RO. However, when you do residential, if you have more than 2 dwellings, the ordinance in a kind of an odd thing says you can do so, but you have to do it through a specific plan, which is a defined term in the municipality's planning code. So the developer has submitted a sketch, at least showing the 4 lots, and wants to develop them into twin homes. So you would have 4 sets of twins or 8 units, fronting Willow Street, using the alley for purposes of parking and access to the parking lots or the parking behind the units. The developer did show some schematics of what the units would look like, and was looking for some feedback from the board on this project. Presently, I think 2 of the lots are probably undeveloped, and 2 of the lots have modular or some kind of mobile homes on them. So it was certainly kind of a unique opportunity for you guys to give some input as to whether you thought this was something that should be explored further or not. Ultimately, our zoning officer will take a look at everything and determine if this qualifies as a specific plan. But before we got to that point, we wanted to see what you guys thought of the general concept of the twin homes. Michelle, did the board get copies of the elevations or the facades of the units? I don't know if they did or not.
No,
I
I
don't
didn't.
think so, no.
No.
Okay.
Do you have
So
it,
they-
Renee?
No, we don't have.
Okay, I thought you said we did. Yeah, because I don't. Yeah, okay.
I can
Remember-
email Chuck, because I don't have a copy of that.
Well, I just remember when we were sitting at this, I mean, this goes back probably 2 months ago when we had a staff meeting, that they showed some elevations. I mean, they were attractive twins, at least in my opinion. I don't want to impose my judgment on anything, but they looked, I think they were kind of following the Manatoni Village properties up in Pottstown, weren't they, Michelle?
Yeah, I kind of do remember that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think they did have those drawings, but they didn't give them, or those, yeah, they didn't give those to us at that
Mhm.
time.
Right. So essentially, they're just looking for feedback as far as whether you think this is an area that's conducive for twin homes, given that's kind of a mixture up there.
Chuck, is
I
there
would
anything?
have to say this, Chuck. I did look at the plans just briefly. It is a nice upgraded twin. I'd have to agree with you on that. And if you compare it to some of the ones in the area on Popular Street there, and it's very much so an upgraded product compared to that. Whether you can get 2 on each lot, I'm not quite sure. The township would have to look at that, the engineering.
Yeah, they're
It
showing
is a
some.
nice unit, Chuck. I agree.
Yeah, they're showing some dimensions, Dave, on what they think they could do based on this plan. I mean, again, these are twins, so obviously the lots aren't all that large, but I think they're proposing a minimum lot area of just over 5,400 square feet. And again, setbacks are pretty standard for twin homes. I mean, they are what they are. So.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Chuck, does anybody live in those modulars or mobile homes? Do you know?
I think so.
Oh, there's people.
I
that-
do. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't remember seeing any of them not occupied.
Yeah,
No, I think they might be rental units at this time. I'm not
People
quite.
did live in there when they sold them, then when they sold the
Yes,
land.
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, they are definitely rentals. The developer owns those parcels, so those would be obviously removed if the plan were approved, and you would have, again, the four sets of the twins.
And the next question is, are they going to be rentals?
What, these units?
Yes.
Yeah.
I really don't know how we can say they can't be.
That's true.
Right.
So they could be sold, Renee, or they could be owned by the developer and rented.
Developer.
I
Mhm.
I don't think we ever got into that level of detail, nor
Okay, sorry.
is it really our right to.
Okay.
Chuck, is there anything specific the board has to do from a wavering standpoint to keep these from going forward? Or is this just a courtesy that FM Group is just providing us and just kind of wanting general feedback?
General feedback's the word, because our ordinance, again, is a little bit awkward in the fact that it talks about a specific plan. So before we went ahead and really analyzed it, we wanted to make sure that conceptually something like this would be, reasonably acceptable to the board before our zoning officer, rolls up his sleeves and looks at it. So is
Right.
there any conceptual objection from the board this type of
I don't have
development
an
in that area?
objection.
Yeah.
No, it's such a mixed use area. I would be interested in hearing more about it. If
Okay.
that's what they're looking for, I'm interested.
That's what they're looking for.
Is Martin, Dave?
We have
No
enough storage
objection here.
capacity?
What?
We have enough EDUs?
Yeah, we have those extra 20, Martin, that we bought, for the small projects. So,
Okay.
Michelle, we have those, right?
Oh, yeah, we have them. I'm not sure that we have exactly 20 left yet. We might have, we either have like 21 or 19. I can confirm that later.
Is
But
that public water there also?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Public water and public sewer. And it's possible, Martin, and I don't know because we haven't gotten that level yet, but when you have these lots already slotted, there may be EDUs already allocated for those, right, Michelle? It's possible, right?
Yeah, that is possible.
Probably the rental units probably have them, but my guess would be that there'd be 2 EDUs per unit here, per lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, if ultimately, if this were developed, you'd have eight units and each unit would have an EDU, so.
Right.
Correct.
So, are we all then interested in bringing them back with a little bit more details? Is that what you want to move forward with the code piece of it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that it?
Yes.
Fine.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right, we'll try and get you more information then too.
Thanks.
Okay.
Now we'll move on to C, minor subdivision. Chuck, you want to take that one as well?
Sure. Again, I think Dave and Kathy probably weren't on the board yet, but when the Coomer major parcel was approved through a resolution for the 145 units, one of the conditions, or at least what we contemplated, was at some point a minor subdivision would come in to basically subdivide the existing house from the rest of the parcel.
Mhm.
And the developer and the owner has now done that and presented a minor 2-lot subdivision. So that's the information I believe is in front of you. You should have the engineer's review letter. You should have a waiver request letter. You should have a proposed preliminary final plan approval resolution, as well as the plan. I can just very briefly go through the conditions. It's very similar to a minor subdivision plan we have done for Coomer back in 2015. The conditions of approval are compliance with the LTL letter, the Montgomery County letter, acknowledging that certain permits might be required from outside agencies, restricting what is known as Lot 1A and B, which is one lot, but bisected by Chestnut Grove Road to make sure that's always only one lot and not sold off separately. And those are the four conditions of approval, which the applicant is agreeing with. There is also 5 waivers that are outlined in the resolution. Again, this is just a minor subdivision. There are improvements that are required to be done as part of the overall development of the 45 lots. But this is just a subdivision so that they can properly subdivide the house from the rest of the lots or the rest of the parcel. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have on it, but it's pretty straightforward. And I know Pete has done a review and they're agreeing, Pete, with all your recommendations.
You have
You
anything
know
to
that the land is divided by a road. It cannot be sold as 2, though.
That you were correct. That's the condition, Dave, that we put in the resolution. It's
I just wanna
condition
make
number
sure of that. Okay.
4. So that's the restriction in the deed for lot 1. 1A and 1B are basically
that.
one
Okay.
lot, okay? Because we wanted to make sure that it's not separated or sold separately, and they acknowledge it's supposed to be one lot, so.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure of that.
Pete, did you have anything to add?
No, I think Chuck said it well. It's simply a redistribution of the lot lines from the 2015 plan. I know not everybody's familiar with that plan, but it's just cutting off the farmhouse lot from the big parcel just now to fit in with their big 144 lot plan, if you're familiar with that one. So it's a relatively minor subdivision plan, and the waivers they're asking for that Chuck referenced, I think those were similar waivers granted from 2015 for what it's worth. And it makes sense to address those, at least in my opinion, with the large subdivision plan when that comes around at the right time.
Yeah, nothing you're doing in this impacts the large subdivision
Right.
per se. You're not undoing anything or granting anything else or overriding the prior decision, nor can you. But everything else that you've imposed is still part of the major subdivision and land development requirements.
Okay.
You want a motion?
Do I have a motion on the resolution?
I make a
17
motion to approve the Camaro Minor subdivision resolution. It's a long time coming. You know, those people need it separated. And it's 143 houses. You guys are wrong.
Yeah, sorry.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Hearing a second. Additional discussion. Hearing no additional discussion. All in favor of approving resolution 715, say aye.
Aye.
Against? No against, right?
No.
Okay. Moving on to the last item, D, on escrow release. You have that from LTL as well. Pete did that one. That's our standard escrow release piece after he does the inspections. Pete, did you have anything you want to talk to on that?
No, I think it's relatively straightforward release. It's been a while since we had the last release, but it just covers the outstanding items that have been recently completed. Some sidewalk went in out there, and just kind of getting caught up for some stuff. Like I said, they have not done a release in quite a while, so this is catching up a lot of the information plus the engineering bills, and you're still left with a good sum of money and contingencies to wrap up the work out there. I know they're gearing up to possibly pave Crossroad as a sidebar in the near future. Schedule's a little bit up in the air with paving plants and the pandemic right now, but that's on the list to do.
Okay, thanks, Pete. I'll need a motion to approve the release, the escrow.
Contingent upon payment of outstanding fees, please.
Correct.
Right. I'll make a motion to approve the release of the escrow.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Hearing a second. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor of approving the escrow release number 6, $102,000, 081.79, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Unanimously carries. Moving now to public comments. We put it on the list here. So if you would please, for the folks who are familiar, if Michelle, if you would take a look and see if we have any just standard public comments, you will see that those indicated with a blue hand.
Yep. I don't see any blue up. I got one. Here we go. I have Al Leach with a question.
No
Yeah,
question.
it's not, no
It's
question.
comment.
It's not a question. It's public comment.
Yep.
Trace is right. I'm not going to ask you a question. I just wanted to, I had two things, and I just wanted to, obviously in comment wise, when, obviously with us moving all into the digital area and such like that, the website and the Zoom meetings and everything is going to be very important going forward. I've noticed, and maybe I'm not the only one, maybe I am the only one, that the website itself is very difficult to navigate and not intuitive at all. And I was hoping maybe that the commissioners would consider, or you guys discuss it amongst yourselves, if you guys feel it's even something you should consider, as in someone looking over the website to make it more user-friendly. It's just very difficult and very unorganized the way it's set up. Just to comment on that. And the second part.
Yeah, Alex, since you're here, we can ask some questions, but what's the school board doing? Are you guys taking a look at it as well? Because I know you passed the preliminary budget just recently.
Yes. We actually did two things. First, we did a whole revamp of our website to make it obviously more user-friendly. We wanted to include more pictures of students. We wanted to make it more friendly for not only navigating, but more friendly for the community as a whole, because we want to make sure that everybody can see and become obviously Pottsboro proud. We're also just approved an area to where we can actually make, it's not going to be a lot of money, but it is going to be some funds available versus for advertising on the website and such like that. The last thing we approved is going to be the mobile section. If you ever go on the Pottsgrove School District mobile section, it's absolutely a joke. It's horrible. So we approved to have that all revamped, and that's in the process of being worked too, so that the parents will have a lot more user-friendly issues, whereas everything will flow. So when a parent wants to see where the bus is, and the parent wants to see their child's school reports, the parents want to see something, it's all right there in a common flow. Just looking again, it's your website. I just was trying to navigate it recently, and it's very difficult and not user-friendly. So it's just something to consider.
Yeah, those are points, and we have that on our list as well, Al, just so you know. That's one of the things we want to work on, and we're taking a look at the costs and see what's the compatible ones around here in our local area. Okay, good. Hey, Al, other thing I'd like to talk to you about, this we do offline. I want to talk to you a little bit about age-restricted housing and how we can actually talk about the revenue piece of that when you have some time to set up a call.
I also have one other comment, and just a comment, right? Is I completely agree. I believe it was Kathy who had mentioned about Facebook, and getting the news from Facebook is not definitely something we want to do. The only thing that I recommend, obviously, is again, comment, not question. In regards to Facebook news, if it's the only news we can get when we can't make a meeting, we're kind of limited with that. I would hope that the Board of Commissioners consider. I know there may be some issues you guys have personally with Evan, but he is our media for this area, and I'm asking please to consider discussing with him and getting a better relationship with our current media so that we can actually get all the news you want out to the public as best as possible. That's all, just a comment.
Yeah, Al, so you're okay with you and me talking on the revenue side as well?
Oh, of course.
Okay, good. All right, let's go next. I think Bill Hewitt's up.
Yep, I'm getting there. Yep. Hey, Bill.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Hope they're all doing well.
Good,
That's
Bill.
fantastic. Is this just a compliment? Because I know you guys are used to getting people yelling at you. This is a wonderful thing. I'm able to attend these meetings now. I think you guys are doing a great job with this. Yeah, you'll figure out the technology. Yeah, you'll figure out the websites and stuff like that. But this is a really good representation, and that's for all of you. And even when you see some dissension and stuff like that, that's how the real politics should work. It's a good sign, and it's a good positive sign. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Thanks so much, Bill. Appreciate it.
Sure, anytime.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, I have one more here. I have Nicole Matz.
Yeah, hi, and I'm relatively new to it, attending the Upper Pottsgrove town meeting. So, did I understand that can be used for questions or only comment? I just wanted to clarify.
Nicole, this is comments. Can you give us your address as well?
270 Concord Drive.
Thanks. Go ahead and do your say your comment.
So my comment is generally that while I have a different viewpoint on the use of Zoom for kind of major topics like the sewer, I do think it is a nice format to enable people that are quite busy like myself to participate in your more standard meetings like this Board of Commissioners meeting, and I hope that this will continue on even when in-person meetings resume.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it. Other public comment?
Thank you.
Hold on one second. I do not see any other hands up.
Okay, good.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more just popped up. I have a Doug Kern. Do you have a comment?
Yes, thanks for catching my late comment. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I just wanted to second the fact that I appreciate the Zoom format. I hope you continue that once the in-person meetings get back to normal. And now that all is said and done on the taxpayer side of the sewer sale, for the most part, I'd like to say that I felt that the discussion that you guys had at the end of last meeting was extremely informative, and something that I would prefer on a major issue like that, to hear from the commissioners prior to some of us who haven't been involved and know the history, just to help set the stage. I felt that was really informative. So since we couldn't comment afterwards, I just wanted to say thank you. And I think that you guys really did do your research, even though you may differ on your opinions of things. So I just appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Doug. Appreciate
Thanks,
your comment.
Doug. Thank you.
Okay, so now we will move to commissioner comments. Kathy?
I appreciate everyone's participation in these Zoom meetings. Yes, I think we're still learning to work out a lot of the kinks. But hearing everyone's opinion is very important. I am here to try to make the best decision that I can for the township that I've lived in for now 23 years. And I do understand how hard it is to make regular meetings, but I would encourage that for the most part to please try to make regular meetings as much as you can so your voice can be heard. And I do understand the issues with the website that some people have, and hopefully we will talk about that and look into it and try to keep everybody as informed as we possibly can, but knowing that you yourselves have to try to keep yourself informed too. It's something that I learned a long time ago when things would pop up either in the township or in Pottstown when I lived there. It was my responsibility to keep informed, but we'll do everything that we can to help you keep informed. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kathy. Dave?
I just want to thank everybody myself. I know there was a lot of tension, a lot of pressure there for a while, and just being a newer commissioner, there's a lot of due diligence out there to do. And I just want to thank my fellow commissioners and Chuck Gardner and Bernie and everybody involved that reached out and extended their time and their knowledge. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. And I certainly want to work for everybody too in the future. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Dave. Martin?
I have nothing tonight.
Renee?
Yeah, I want to just hop on those two guys and say I appreciate all the positive phone calls and even at this meeting, the positive comments. We don't take things lightly. It takes a long time to research things, make sure we're getting the right answers, and make sure we're doing the right things. And like I said before, I'm a commissioner for everybody else. I mean, I've lived here probably the longest of most people, 60 plus years, and I want the best for our township, the one I've lived in my whole life, watching all the developments come in and watching everything that happened, actually seeing my own street put in, you know, and it's been here forever. So I just want everybody to know that these decisions aren't made like a whim. We make these for you, the community. You're the one that put us in here, and we make these decisions for you. And I really feel like we did the right thing in the last couple of weeks. It was tough, and we had a lot of pushback, but I feel like we turned the corner, and we're moving ahead, and we're doing the right thing, especially with this pandemic. We won't be able to get grants. I will say that again. The municipal league said there are no grants right now because all the money's going to the people that aren't working. So I just wanted to tell everyone that I appreciate the fact that, you know, they've been positive. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thank you, everybody. Just for the summer months coming up, what we traditionally try to do is the summer months, we just hold our regular meeting in the middle of the month. And we keep the work sessions on the schedule, but we generally don't do those unless we need to. So we'll pick that up after we get all caught up in our 18 May meeting, and so you can plan some summertime if we are able to move around a little bit more. That'll work out fine. Hey, thanks to everybody. Appreciate it, and we are now adjourned.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.